Hi guys, welcome back to my channel. For today's video, I am finally getting around to filming my Best of Beauty for 2020. This is another video that I love to film every single year alongside my huge yearly empties, which I did just recently upload on my channel. So definitely make sure to go check out that video when you are done with this one. But for today's video, I am going to be talking all about my Best of Beauty for 2020, except I'm doing it a little bit different this year, and I'm talking only about drugstore makeup. I decided to switch it up this year and just talk about drugstore makeup because you guys know drugstore makeup just really had my heart this past year. There were so many amazing drugstore releases. I picked up so many amazing new drugstore products. So today I'm going to be talking about the best of the best from the drugstore this past year. Those items that I've been incorporating into my daily makeup routine that just really stood out to me. And I tried a lot of drugstore makeup in 2020. You guys can go back and watch my videos. I will have my drugstore playlist linked down below if you want to check it out. The drugstore just really was amazing this year, and I've really just shifted into loving drugstore makeup so much. I knew I had to come on here and talk about what I thought was the best of the best drugstore makeup that I tried out in 2020. So I really hope that you guys enjoyed seeing this video, and if you want to see the best drugstore makeup, indie makeup, affordable makeup, whatever you guys want to call it, make sure to keep on watching. So let's officially kick off this video with eyeshadow. In 2020, I tried some really great affordable eyeshadow options. The first one being from ColourPop. Now I know ColourPop, some people consider it drugstore, some people consider it indie, but in my head it is a more affordable brand. The ColourPop Nude Mood palette is 100% my top palette of 2020. This is what this palette looks like. I'm sure you guys have seen this on my channel before, but it is just such a great palette. If you are a everyday neutral girl, you like your warm, typical smoky eyes, kind of same eye look every day type of vibe, this is 100% that palette for you. And I've always said that if I were to ever create a palette myself or do a collaboration or something like that, I just feel like it would look so similar to this because this palette is just so my style. It embodies everything that I love about eyeshadows, from warm browns, neutral browns, deep chocolatey browns. They pressed their Super Shock in there, which is one of my favorite eyeshadow formulas of all time. There's a cream shade, a nice sparkly bronze shade. This palette just has anything I could ever possibly want when it comes to doing my makeup and my eyeshadow. It was a huge favorite of mine in 2020, as you guys can see. Actually, I don't know if it's picking up on camera how much I use this and like how dirty it is. There's so much fallout all over this palette. Another palette that I reached for a ton in 2020, again, more on the indie side than I would say the drugstore side, but that is the Lorella Cosmetics Rockin' Moroccan eyeshadow palette. This, I would say, I discovered a little bit more than halfway through 2020. This was gifted to me for my birthday in August, but ever since then, this is something that I definitely use on a weekly basis. Here's what the palette looks like on the inside. I personally feel like this speaks for itself, but to me, it is just the perfect combination of neutrals and warm shades and wearable shades with a lot of those fun pops of color in here. But I feel like despite the colors being so nice and bright, all of the looks that I've come up with in this palette have still remained very wearable to me. I have done a tutorial featuring 2 different looks on this palette up on my channel if you guys want to see some of the looks that I came up with, but I just think this palette is so amazing for only getting it in August. I used it a ton. I feel like if I do a little up close, you could just see the usage that I've gotten out of this palette, especially in some of the like nice lighter shimmery shades and the colorful shades. And not to mention, I think the price on this palette for the quality and what you're getting is really great as well. You get 25 insanely pigmented and beautiful eyeshadows for only $20 or $25, I believe this palette retails for. Another amazing drugstore eyeshadow option are, I'm sure you guys could already guess it, the e.l.f. Bite Size eyeshadow palettes. These absolutely blew me away, and I don't mean to sound very repetitive about these or with anything else that I'm talking about in this video. These are a lot of my favorites, so all of these products will definitely be things that you guys have heard me talk about in the past. I cannot believe that these little guys retail for only $3 each, and the actual quality of these, the pigmentation, the shade range, It is just so good. I always say I do not know how they did this for only $3. You guys will see as we go along in this video, e.l.f. was definitely the brand that I tried the most from, that I think did the absolute best when it came to new makeup launches in 2020 and just impressing me time and time again with their quality. But these little eyeshadow palettes, nothing comes close to them, honestly, when it comes to 2020 drugstore launches. So I will go ahead and show you guys my top 4 shades. This first palette here is in the shade Cream and Sugar. This is going to be great for those of you that just like that everyday supernatural glam. It does have this really nice deep chocolatey shade that you could use on your outer corner or for your eyeliner. But this is for like that everyday makeup kind of girl. This is one of my favorites, especially the shade right here. Look at that. It's like stunning on the eyelid. This next one is a little bit of a deeper, more cool tone quad. This one is in the shade Truffles. This one comes with those really nice matte brown shades. Again, a little bit more on the cool tone side, and then a black. And this is kind of like a really interesting silvery taupe kind of shade. It's very, very unique. And again, if you guys like cool tones, I think you will love this one a lot. And this one is the Pumpkin Pie Bite Size Eyeshadow Palette. Look at these warm shades. Honestly, you guys, the shimmers in here just blow my mind. I want to swatch one from every palette because they're just so good. My other favorite is in the shade Berry Bad. I've used this one a couple times here on my channel, and there is the berry shimmer that comes in this one. They are also amazing for traveling whenever we will get to travel again, whenever it is safe enough. So these are way up there on my list when it comes to eyeshadows that I tried in 2020. But honestly, eyeshadows in general, I guess I would have to say, because I reach for these a lot than some of the other high-end palettes that I have in my collection. Surprisingly enough, that is everything for the eyes. I definitely have to say 2020 was the year of base makeup for me and for tools. As much as I love doing my eyebrows and my eyeshadows, 2020 I just had a newfound love for trying new foundations, primers. I love playing around on my base so much more than I do on my eyes. Let's switch it up a little bit though, and I want to go ahead and talk about some tools, some new brushes, sponges, things like that. I only have a couple things to talk about, but the first thing that I absolutely loved, and I am so happy e.l.f. finally came out with one, is the Putty Primer Applicator. You guys know how much I love my Poreless Putty Primer here on my channel. In my everyday life, it is my go-to primer. But with acrylic nails, it could definitely get a little bit messy dipping into the pot. The primer gets stuck under my fingers or stuck around my nails, and I also don't want to contaminate my pot either. Of course, I always wash my hands, but with having acrylic nails, I feel like there's just more chance for contaminating your pot makeup. So e.l.f. finally answered everyone's prayers, and they released this Putty Primer Applicator, which I think is so cool. It has this really awesome spatula on the end that is really easy to clean. Basically, you use this side to scrape out the product. You could put it on your hand or just kind of wipe it on your face. You use the actual brush side to buff the primer into the skin. So I just thought this was such a cool launch, and it is exactly the perfect addition that I needed in my makeup routine for my putty primer. When it comes to makeup sponges, I will always be nothing but loyal to my e.l.f. Total Face Sponge, but I have tried a couple of new sponges pretty much in the last couple of weeks. I don't know if that's cheating or not, but I had to talk about these because they have quickly become some of my favorite everyday sponges, and they only retail for $1, so had to talk about them with you guys. These are from Shop Miss A. These are by the brand AOA Studio, I believe. I have their nude beveled blender as well as their traditional teardrop blender in pink that just kind of looks like a traditional kind of beauty blender dupe. These are some of the softest makeup sponges that I've ever tried, and I'm not just saying that because I did work with Shop Miss A on a sponsored video and these products were gifted to me, but I swear to you guys, these are some of the best sponges that I've ever tried. They are so soft. They just bounce the product onto the skin so nicely, and I will say I do think I'm a little bit of a makeup sponge snob just because I'm so used to my favorites. When I try a new one, I'm very picky about about the density. Does it absorb too much product? Is it rough on the skin? Is it like super hard? And these are none of those things. They are just very soft and bouncy. I would wet them to show you guys, but I used this one dry today and I felt like it worked so well with applying my makeup. That's how soft it is that I even was able to apply my foundation and concealer and powder and everything dry. I will definitely have these linked down below for you guys if you are interested. I believe these are like the most affordable sponges that I've ever tried, and they are just so good. So although I've only used them for a couple of weeks now, I had to share them with you because I just love them, and they've definitely quickly jumped to the top with some of my favorite sponges that you guys already know about. Let's go ahead and jump on into the best drugstore primers of 2020. I told you guys base makeup has just made me so excited, and I've tested out so many, but my top favorite for sure this year was definitely Wet n Wild's Prime Focus Hydrating Primer Serum. This is so good. Now, I know it doesn't look like I used a lot of this, but I promise you guys, I use this all the time, and a little bit of this goes a really long way. I never thought that I would really enjoy something like this in my makeup routine. I was always scared of serums or anything that was almost like liquidy underneath my foundation, because I always just assumed that it would break up my foundation and leave me looking way too greasy looking almost on the skin. But that was not the case at all with this Wet n Wild Hydrating Primer Serum, and it quickly grew to be one of my everyday favorites in 2020 because it just feels so nice on the skin, and I think I like it so much because it is a water-based serum, so it just soaks into the skin really nicely, leaving your skin feeling very hydrated as well, but it also does grip onto your makeup. And I find that when I use this, my makeup lasts so much longer and looks nicer for longer, opposed to when I don't use this in my routine. So I will go ahead and kind of show you guys the consistency a little bit. It is bubbling a little because I did shake it before I opened it. So I don't know if you guys can see, it is running super fast. It is a very thin and liquidy serum. It is still running down my arm. Oh my gosh. As I'm rubbing it into my hand, it feels very, very hydrating. But the more you rub it and kind of almost tap it into the skin, it starts getting a little bit tacky, which I really think is the key to activating those primer qualities about the serum and taking it a step up to actually prime the skin and make your makeup last longer. I don't know if you guys can see or hear maybe better. Can you guys hear that? My fingers are actually sticking to the back of my hand because this just has the coolest way of actually getting tacky and really gripping on to anything else that you put on top of it. It's just different. It's unique. I had never tried a serum in general, nonetheless a primer serum, until I tried this, and it just turned out to be a huge favorite and standout product for me this past year. The next primer that I fell in love with in 2020 is one that I know all of my dry skin subscribers and followers will love, and that is the Milani Prime Perfection Face Primer. I love this. This is one of my go-to primers, especially in the winter, because it is oil-free yet very hydrating as well. And it just has this really nice hydrating, almost lotion-like consistency. Now, I'm not going to lie to you guys. I am not the best at always remembering to moisturize underneath my makeup. And not only that, I haven't found a moisturizer that I absolutely love how it sits and feels underneath my makeup. So the fact that I can kind of bang out two birds with one stone and hydrate and prime my skin at the same time just really drew me to this Milani primer this year. It wasn't one that I used a ton during these summer months because it is definitely hydrating. It definitely does not go hand in hand with 85-degree weather when it is hot and humid and you feel like your makeup is already melting off the skin. This is definitely not the primer that you would want to go for, but at the beginning of 2020 in like that really cold 18-degree weather here in New York, this is definitely a primer that I start to include into my daily makeup routine again, in my winter makeup routine. That's another video that I just uploaded here on my channel. I will squeeze a little bit out so you guys can see the consistency. It's really just like a primer lotion basically, and it feels so great and cooling on the skin, and it makes pretty much any foundation that you're using look so dewy on top of this. When it comes to smoothing texture on the skin, filling in your pores, prolonging the wear of your makeup, this definitely isn't the primer for that. This is kind of one of those primers that I like to mix with other primers because this is solely just for hydration. I don't really find that it creates that very like perfectly smooth, flawless canvas on the skin. So for that, I usually will go in and mix this with a little bit of my e.l.f. matte putty primer. Now I know it's a little bit of a contradiction, a hydrating primer and a matte primer, but this just works for me, this combination. I think e.l.f. almost broke the internet when they released new versions of their putty primer. You guys know how much I love the original poreless putty, but the matte putty primer is definitely a close runner-up to the original putty. As someone who does have some dry patches here and there on the skin, this primer works so well for me despite it saying that it's mattifying, and I think that is because this is something that I always mix with something a little more hydrating. A combination of the matte putty primer with one of these is like chef's kiss. It is just so nice on the skin. Besides the normal drugstore foundations that I always talk about here that I absolutely love, there was one new one that stood out to me in 2020 that I tried, and that is the Believe Beauty Skin Finish Foundation. This is the very famous, very viral $5 foundation from Dollar General. I will be the first to say that I was a really huge skeptic when I first tried out this foundation because to me, Dollar General was just never a place I thought to go to for makeup, and I don't know how other Dollar Generals are, but the Dollar General in my town is like kind of like dark, and I don't know, it was just wasn't like a very pleasant atmosphere the first time that I went in there to pick up this foundation. I definitely did not have any plans to love this as much as I do, but I absolutely love this foundation. It looks so beautiful on the skin. It lasts such a long time. I have mine in the shade Soft Beige as well, if you guys were wondering. This is also a product that I have a first impression wear test and everything like that up on my channel if you want to see it in action, but I'm very, very surprised in a good way with this foundation. I see why it was so popular and viral here on YouTube. The packaging is so nice as well. I believe this is glass. If it's not glass, then they did a very good job at fooling me there. And it comes with this beautiful gold pump, which mine is dirty because I've been using this foundation a lot these past few weeks. It is no secret that I love concealers. I have so many of them in my collection. I'm always jumping to try the newest drugstore concealer. I have 4 different formulas of concealer to talk about today that I absolutely fell in love with in 2020. 2 of the formulas being like long-term, I use these all of 2020, and then 2 of the formulas being very recent discoveries within like the last month or couple weeks, I would say, but I've just loved them so much so quickly, I still wanted to mention them to you guys. So first and foremost for concealer, I'm sure you guys knew this was coming, my e.l.f. Hydrating Camo Concealer completely has my heart. It is my all-time favorite concealer, not only in 2020, but my all-time favorite concealer that I've ever tried, both drugstore and high-end. Even if you have oily skin, I know this is something that everyone will love. The coverage is phenomenal. It is almost a perfect dupe for the Too Faced Born This Way concealer that retails for like $30. There is absolutely so much more that I could say about this concealer, but I think I will leave it at that because I know I've chewed your ear off about this before. Just make sure to run and go get this immediately. It is only $6 and it is incredible. The Milani Conceal and Perfect Concealer also made it to the top of my list in 2020. This is one that I used pretty much throughout the whole year because I did get it in December of 2019, and I don't remember if I mentioned it in my 2019 Best of Beauty, but I wanted to mention it again because it is just such a good concealer. It has such nice and high coverage, but it is just a very, very creamy formula. One of the creamiest formulas that I've tried in a while when it comes to concealer. And I don't know, there's just something in it, something about it that makes it extra creamy to me, yet It still dries down matte on the eye and you have a lot of playtime with it. It's kind of like a fluffy mousse in a way. And again, it has a lot of playtime. It dries down nice and matte. Those of you that don't really get oily, you might not even have to set this on your under eye, but it looks beautiful underneath a good powder as well. As for my newer concealer finds, the e.l.f. Flawless Brightening Concealer, I believe launched in November. I did not try this until December of 2020. But I've been using this every single day since the first day I tried it, and it is an amazing addition to my concealer routine. This retails for only $5. I have mine in the shade Light 26 Neutral, and I love the packaging on this. I love the clicky pen type of concealer, and then the concealer comes up through the brush. I enjoy this formula a lot because it isn't that typical full coverage concealer that you're going to get that full glam type of look, but I love mixing this with my other concealers. I truly find that it actually makes any concealer more brightening under my eye. I also love this little brush for getting right down the middle of my nose when I'm doing like a cream contour on my nose or cream contouring my face. This just brightens all the right areas so beautifully. Also, this is my new favorite concealer for carving out my brows because the brush just fits so nicely around my brows. I love this for priming my eyes, and I like it because it is a little bit of a lighter formula, so it allows me to carve out my brows in a more natural way without like seeing that harsh line like I actually carved out my brows, if that makes any sense. I think if you are someone who is just getting into makeup and looking for something that is very easy to use, very beginners friendly, that is not going to give you extreme full glam type of coverage, I think this is an amazing place to start when it comes to concealer. Or if you are more of a concealer connoisseur, I guess you could say, like myself, it's really great to highlight the face, kind of mix in with your concealer for brightening and all of the good things that I already said about this. And the last concealer that I have to talk about today is the AOA Studio Liquid Concealer. This was also a find from Shop Miss A recently. This concealer absolutely blew my mind. If you guys want to go ahead and watch my Shop Miss A video, I will put it in a card or link it down below so you guys can go watch it when this video is over. But for being $1.55, I believe, because they do donate some of the profits to fighting against animal cruelty. If you guys can see, this is the Paw Paw edition. The coverage on this is absolutely insane. Again, you guys can watch the video to see it in action under my eye, but it is probably one of the most full coverage concealers that I have in my collection. It makes my under eyes look so flat, I want to say, because it just like blanks everything out. It is so full coverage and glam under the eye. I was truly blown away by this concealer, and again, it's only been in my collection for a couple of weeks, but it was so good I had to include it in my 2020 favorites. I definitely recommend you guys go pick up this concealer as well. Those are all of my top concealers of 2020. Now I'm going to be moving on to some sprays that I really liked in 2020. So I have two different sprays here, and they kind of do different things depending on what I'm looking for. So the first spray that I loved and used all the time this past year is the Catrice Illuminating Prime and Fine Dewy Glow Fixing Spray. Now this is the spray that I go for when I want a super dewy skin, like luminous, almost like, I don't want to say greasy looking, but it definitely gives you that like little oily glow that I like to my skin when I'm feeling extra dry, especially in the winter. It has very, very teeny microscopic shimmers in here. They do not translate on the face whatsoever. So if you guys go to the store and kind of look at this and you see some things floating around, you do not have to worry about any of those transferring on the skin. It just gives the most beautiful glow to the skin. I really love the original Prime and Fine as well. It's a really great solid dupe for Fix Plus, just a standard like fixing spray, refreshing spray kind of thing. But if you want something that is going to finish off your skin with like a wet glam glassy, dewy glow, this is definitely that spray for you. The other spray that I really loved in 2020 is kind of on the opposite spectrum of things, where it's not mattifying, but it is not hydrating at all. And if anything, I do believe that this has a little bit of alcohol in it. But this is the Milani Make It Last setting spray, and this makes my makeup last so long. This is the makeup setting spray that you want to use if you're going to be wearing a mask on top of your makeup. Your makeup will not budge, it will not transfer. It is truly like a lock your makeup in place type of setting spray. This does say that you can use this to prime your skin as well. I have tried it in that way. I don't really like it. I do find that this could be drying on the skin, and I don't always love promoting things with alcohol in it because it's not great for the skin. It can be drying and damaging over time. So I definitely think for the mask reason alone, the Milani Make It Last setting spray was a huge 2020 essential. This year was definitely different, and I never thought that I would be giving makeup tips for wearing a mask all the time. And I believe this retails for around $8 to $10, which is a lot more affordable than those popular high-end setting sprays like Urban Decay All Nighter and things like that. Surprise, surprise, my e.l.f. Primer Infused Bronzer in the shade Perpetually Tan is my drugstore bronzer pick of 2020. This is that gorgeous warm tone bronzer that you guys see me wearing in a ton of my videos. This is the bronzer that I'm wearing today. If you guys didn't clock me for it already, I do think that my foundation is too dark on me today. I don't know what went wrong. I'm wearing my Maybelline 120, but I think I'm going to have to switch to 118 soon because I feel like my neck and my chest look a lot lighter than my face today, so I hope it wasn't too distracting throughout this video. Ever since this bronzer came into my life, it has been so easy for me to put down all of the other high-end bronzers like my Anastasia bronzer, Too Faced Chocolate Soleil, whatever other high-end bronzers. I don't even honestly remember anymore because this e.l.f. bronzer has been like the light of my life since I got it. I believe these retail for like $6 or $8. I want to say $6, but they're just really great. They also have blushes that have a really similar formula as well that I do like. I just like the bronzers a little bit more. I find that they are just so nice on the skin. My top blush of 2020 has to be Wet n Wild's Color Icon blush in the shade Mellow Wine. Now these blushes have been around for a while. I remember talking about these in 2015, 2016 when they were in the classic square rectangle packaging, but the formula has gotten even better on these since they reformulated them into the circle packaging, and I just love this. I love the formula, I love the shade. It's the blush that I have on my cheeks today. This blush has just turned me into such a blush person. I love just like piling this on my cheeks every single day. It's my perfect shade of blush. I think this Mellow Wine shade is just so complimentary on my skin tone. It goes with every single eye look. It's a total no-brainer for me, and this is the one that I've used the most in 2020. But I also wanted to talk about something a little bit different that is maybe more of a summertime blush for me. I know I talked about these a lot in the summer, and these are the Milani Baked Powder Blushes in the shade Berry Amore and Rose d'Oro. These are such classics here in the beauty community, so I'm sure these are not new to you guys at all, but 2020 was really the year that I got to use these a lot and truly test them out and dig into these, and they are just stunning. I love a good baked blush, and baked products aren't typically my favorite because I do find that they tend to lack pigment and you always kind of have to scrape off that top layer. But these blushes definitely do not shy away from pigment. They have a beautiful luminous formula because they have that like gold veining running through them. Here are the swatches on my hand. They're just so luminous and look so healthy on the skin. I apologize if you guys are tired of hearing me talk about e.l.f. makeup, but I seriously think they are my favorite makeup brand at the moment, drugstore and high-end. I just love them so much, and as I'm sure you guys can tell, they just launched so many amazing things in 2020. Their bite-sized face duos being one of them. These bite-sized face palettes have one blush and one highlighter. Love the formula of both of them. This one right here I use a ton is in the shade Lychee, and it has this really beautiful like deep nude blush and then more of this like kind of like a deep champagne highlighter. It's a little bit too deep on my skin tone to be a highlighter, but I love the blush in here. Very similar to the Wet n Wild Mellow Wine. I think that's why I actually might like this so much, because it's up that same kind of wine deep nude alley when it comes to blush. And then another one of my favorites is in the shade White Peach. This one has that beautiful peachy blush, which I absolutely love. And then this highlighter is definitely my favorite of the two. Despite this being only $3, the blushes are really long lasting. As you guys saw, the highlighters are very intense. They're not glittery, they're not powdery, they don't have any fallout on the face. They're just that standard glow from within, very like wet looking natural highlighter on the cheek, which is amazing. So these were another huge hit for me from e.l.f. in 2020. They really just dominated the drugstore makeup game in my opinion. For lip products in 2020, if you guys thought I talked about e.l.f. already a lot in this video, just hold on, because I have more to talk about. So the first lip product in 2020 that blew my mind, I love these so much, are e.l.f.'s Sheer Slick Lipsticks. Now I don't know how much I actually talked about these on my channel, but behind the scenes, day to day, these are such an amazing everyday comfortable throw on lipstick. First of all, the packaging is so cute. These are what the lipsticks look like. They're so comfortable. I think I love them so much because they're very good for every day. You almost don't even need a mirror to apply these because they are more on the sheer side. They're just very easy to kind of throw on the lips. You can build up the shade and kind of customize it to your preference. So if you just want to go ahead and do one swipe, as you can see right there, you'll just get a nice light wash of color. This is the shade Golden Pear. Or you could keep really building up the shade, as you guys can see here, and get more of like a deeper wash of color. This color is so unique as well. It's like a burnt orange for the lips. And then I also picked up the shade Dragon Fruit, which again, definitely has more color to it. With one swipe, you get a lot of color, or you can like really go in and build it up again. They are almost like an elevated tinted lip balm. You could even take them with your finger and dab them on to turn them into more of like a stain. I just really, really love these lipsticks from e.l.f. along with their $3 Seriously Satin lipsticks, another huge hit for me in 2020. I honestly feel like I should have just called this video the best of e.l.f. cosmetics, because that is definitely what this video has turned into. But these are really nice lipsticks. I love, again, the packaging. They come in this super cute clear component, and these have just been kind of like my everyday go-to nude shades. I have the shade Nectar, which is a little bit more of a warm nude, and then the shade Cream is just a classic, very light, almost like concealer pinky nude shade right there. They're just like that perfect standard satin bullet lipstick formula that I love. And for only $3, how could you not have a couple shades of these? They're so good. Last product from e.l.f. in this video, I promise, it is their Ride or Die lip balm. I have mine in the shade Tough Cookie. This is such a nice product, and the formula is definitely different than I thought. This is an extremely thick and almost like very pigmented lip balm. If you guys can see, do you see how thick it is on the back of my hand? It's almost like a gloss, I would say. This is absolutely beautiful for an everyday makeup look on a day where you're just wearing some mascara, a little brow, and you want just like a little something on your lips. I like to take this and just dab it on my finger and give myself a nice light wash of color. You obviously don't have to use as much as I just squeezed out and showed you guys on my finger, but I love how it looks and feels on the lips. It's really quick and easy touch up. Like if I were to go out today, I probably would just keep this in my purse instead of actually packing the lipstick that I'm wearing, because it's that pigmented, it kind of can just replace it. I don't know if this next product launched in 2020, but I did try it for the first time in 2020, and that is the Essence This Is Nude lipstick. I have mine in the shade number 6. First of all, this packaging is amazing. I love anything white and gold. They have so many beautiful colors of this lipstick, but this is the one that I have. I actually have this. It's like a hand-me-down from my mom. She purchased it at Ulta and it ended up being too dark for her. I do think that this is supposed to be a nude on darker skin tones, but for me, this is a beautiful, deep, almost purpley nude. I was wearing it in this video right here if you guys want to see how it looks on my lips, but it's just a stunning deep nude, almost It's not even like I'm wearing a red lip or a burgundy lip. It just has the prettiest undertone on my skin tone. And when I want more of that vampy lip look for this time of year, around the holidays or for the winter, this is the lipstick that I have been reaching for because of that more like neutral nude undertone, I guess you could say. It has just been my favorite deeper nude lipstick of 2020. Another rediscovered old drugstore favorite is the Color Riche lipstick by L'Oreal in the shade 802 Masterpiece. This is the lipstick that I'm wearing on the center of my lips today. I think especially towards the end of 2020, I've been really liking more neutral pinky nudes instead of nudes that lean very peach. I think those are more summer appropriate, but I've just been loving a standard, easy, pinkish nude lipstick like this. It is so easy to throw on with every single look. And although this is supposed to be more of a matte formula, I find it very comfortable on the lips, and it still is very soft. Like, I could rub my lips together. I feel like it's more of a satin than a matte, and I feel like not a lot of people talk about L'Oreal anymore in general. I think their lipsticks are really underrated, especially their matte lipstick line. I have a couple different colors in my collection, but this shade 802 Masterpiece, again the one that I'm wearing today, is really underrated, and it's my current favorite. Last but not least, my all-time favorite lip combination that I could not stop wearing in 2020. This is another one that Juicy Jazz put in her collaboration bundle with ColourPop last Valentine's Day, and this is their lippy pencil in the shade Little One in combination with their ultra matte lip in the shade Sunny Side. If you saw me wearing like this brownie mauve nude lip in any of my videos this year, it was probably this lip combination because I wore this all the time. It is just so good. It truly is really close to my perfect nude, and I was a little surprised because this is more of a beigey pink nude opposed to something more peachy and warm tone, which I typically would go for. But ever since I tried this lip combination, I cannot get enough of it. This is another really good mask makeup type of product when you have to wear a mask and you don't want your lipstick to budge or smudge underneath your mask. These ultra matte lips are an amazing formula. They dry down completely, but they stay very thin and comfortable on the lips. It doesn't even feel like you are wearing anything. I'd really like to go back to 2019 and see someone say mask makeup and have it make absolutely no sense, and now it makes perfect sense that we're changing our makeup to wear a mask. I would say out of all of the amazing lip products that I showed you guys today, this was definitely the one that I wore the most. All right, you guys, so that is going to complete this video. That is my best of drugstore beauty 2020. I'm so sorry it's taken me a little while to get this video up, but better late than never, right? I know it was a long one, so thank you so much if you stayed to the end. If you watched this whole video, I appreciate you guys so much. I really hope that you guys enjoyed seeing today's video and spending time with me today. If you did, please make sure to give this video a thumbs up. It really helps me out. Also, make sure you guys are subscribed to my channel before you leave. I would love to have you guys here as part of my little YouTube fam. If you don't want to miss out on any of my future videos, click that notification bell down below and you'll get notified every single time that I upload a new video. As always, thank you guys so much for watching, and I'll see you in my next one. Bye, guys.